Welcome to Processing Purpose, a business and lifestyle podcast committed to having honest conversations about the stuff in our lives that is often suppressed, ignored, or overlooked. We are two brothers from very different backgrounds, but with one common goal. From entrepreneurship to relationships, from hobbies to house projects, nothing is off limits as we process becoming the best version of ourselves in business and life.
We're back.
Dude, do you feel more professional or what?
I feel like this is way more legit. Let us know if you think so as well. Leave a comment in the comment section below. But, man, we are pretty stoked to be here. This is a pretty fun little setup.
Yeah.
And we feel legit.
We actually didn't plan the outfit match.
No, we didn't, but we look pretty good.
I mean, between you, me, and Harold the Bull.
Oh, man, absolutely. Harold, that's a good name. Actually, we didn't even talk about that. You just threw that out there, and I love it.
I just pitched it.
Harold makes sense to me.
Welcome, Harold, to the
All right.
podcast.
Well, we're back. We're doing it. We're getting back into the swing of life like you guys are. It's the new year, new you maybe, new plans, new goals, things like that. So maybe we'll touch a little bit on that as we go. But we do have a topic in mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's super relevant, right, to this conversation because it kind of starts here. More people than not have this big idea, this big grandiose, almost delusions of grandeur, which I can sometimes have, but until you scale all of that down into bite-sized chunks into habitual change, that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're
going
to talk about making habits, building habits.
What bad habits might look like for you, what are good habits, what habits do you want to change, those sorts of things. And again, I want to just set the stage. I'm no expert in this.
Yeah.
I have a lot of habits that, I want to work out and work on. And again, it's processing purpose. It's working through these things together so you guys can see in real life. Two guys that again just want to be the best version of ourselves, and I think for me, for sure, it's going to start with habits.
Yeah. I mean, you can set all the plans that you want, you can create all the resolutions, but if you don't actually have a process, right, to turn those plans into an actual execution,
yeah,
it's kind of pointless. But before we go there, first week here of the new year.
Yep.
Yeah. How, real briefly, how was your holiday? Let's not go too deep, right?
No.
Let's not bore everybody.
No.
Not that your holiday was boring.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's really actually important to reflect on all of it, right? I think I've made the comment often that it's so easy to keep your eyes fixed on what is in front of you and where you're headed. It's hard sometimes to stop and just take a review, right? And reflect on the season you just had or maybe the year you just had. So yeah, I often don't do that. I move right through holidays. So I appreciate you asking that question. We had a great one.
Yeah.
We had good family time. We had a good time with you guys. We had an awesome Christmas Eve dinner. That was super fun. And then Christmas Day was my favorite kind of Christmas day. And that's literally sitting around doing nothing. Christmas to me, or at least holidays, time off of work means no responsibility, as little as possible, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of my birthday MO. On my birthday, I don't care what we do. I just don't want responsibility, right? I don't have to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it was wonderful. And, we had, I'm mentioning it only because I'm empathetic to the rest of society that I think a weird round of illness went through just about every community over the holiday.
It was brutal.
Yeah, we got slapped pretty hard too. And you can hear it in my voice, I'm still kind of overcoming some of it. So aside from that, we can go down that lane anytime we want and do a pity party. But the truth is, it was a fantastic holiday. December, because of our business and industry we're in real estate, it slows down around that time, and people are very understanding about that. So I take that time. I don't effort to try to work as hard as I can in December. I just don't. I know there's a lot of retail businesses, other industries, they have to or they do, and it's part of the plan. For me, it's a holiday month.
Yeah.
It really is. And I soaked it all in. It was awesome. But what's good about that for me is now that it's January, as you've heard and seen, man, I'm fired up, man. I'm running around. I'm meeting with people. I'm trying to recruit. I'm trying to come up with strategies, put events together for the community, that sort of thing. And I think that respite was really instrumental for me feeling this way and kind of feeling pretty pumped up, especially for January. You know me. In middle of winter, sometimes I deal with some seasonal stuff, and I know a lot of you probably do too. But that rest, I think, for me at least, was really important.
Nice.
How about you?
Yeah, you never plan on it being as busy as it ends up being. I don't know about you, but I like to decompress a little bit.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen. Like, it went like we came in at 80 miles an hour and we exited the season at 80 miles an hour, and there was just no downtime, very little downtime.
I even asked you the other day. I was like, "How was the day?" And you're like, "I worked. I literally plowed all morning."
Yeah. I mean, we between getting snow and there's just family in, family out, us moving or us traveling to go see family. Even we got snow on Christmas Day, so I was moving snow on Christmas Day, and it was just I was coaching. You guys know I an alpine race coach, so I was coaching 4 of the days. There was a holiday camp, so I was coaching 4 of the days through that period of time as well. And the week leading up to Christmas, I was like wall-to-wall meetings for some reason because all my meetings were getting canceled the week before, and all got stuffed into that final week, and it was busy. It was great.
Is winter typically your busiest season or no?
No.
And so it feels a little kind of a new disruption almost in a way.
Yeah, it was abnormal. It was abnormal. It was busy. It was great though. Amazing time with family. And yeah, it was super positive and felt like a blessed season, and it was good. Wasn't much relaxing.
It's almost like certain trips you take with the family, and holidays seem the same in that you get over it and you get through it, and you're like, I need a vacation from the vacation. I don't know.
Yeah.
You need a little rest from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even on New Year's Day, we were driving back from Coeur d'Alene, being time with family, and the kids were back in school on Tuesday. So it was just like,
yeah, we were sliding into home.
It was just screaming in and screaming out. Before we pivot back to business, favorite gift that you got?
Oh man. I actually didn't receive a lot of personal gifts for Christmas. I know. I know I didn't, but we, Brooke and I actually effort to really gift one another all year long. So we don't like build it up for this one-time thing. We try to, that she goes on a trip or I'll go on a trip and do this and that. And so it doesn't feel like it's owed or it's or we're deprived in any way. And so we kind of, because of Disneyland, we went to Disneyland with the kids. And that, for us, we talked about it. That was kind of a gift for us as well, to go in and get that time in with the kids and with the family and all that. So Disneyland, I mean, that's it wasn't a direct gift to me, but I'm not actually, it's really weird. I love giving gifts, love doing whatever I can to be thoughtful because it's actually a real effort for me. I feel bad saying that. I wish I was just naturally more thoughtful. So anyway, Disneyland, I think for me, it was amazing. I mean, I got pretty sick, but I just don't, for whatever reason, I don't think I'm ever going to think about that when I think of Disney. I'm not. I'm going to remember the first few days that were amazing and all that. So keeping a positive attitude around that. How about you?
That's great. I got a cold plunge. That was the one that I was like, yes.
I know that looked awesome too. I want to. The whole setup looks super simple. It doesn't look like it's an ultra complicated
super
setup.
Basic.
Yeah. And that's beneficial to you.
I used it this morning.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
So what does it do for you? Does it like decrease pain? Does it help with circulation? Like when you get out of that, do you feel like, oh man, I feel refreshed?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things I notice. I do it after I do, any type of workout, gym, ski, whatever it might be. I'll do it when I get home, spend 3 minutes in it, and then I'll get in the hot tub immediately afterwards. And it seriously reduces my inflammation. Like I'll feel much better the next day.
Wow.
Just I won't be nearly as sore. And I'm not sure we've talked about it, but I deal with quite a bit of back stuff. And so it helps me navigate that. But then when I do it in the morning, like I did today, I feel just like charged. Right. There must be some sort of, and I've done a little bit of research. If I spoke to it, it would be, a little ignorant to speak to the research, but there's some sort of chemical dump that you get.
Sure.
Between the cold plunge and the hot tub that I feel really charged up.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to start, and plus there's a mental benefit too as your body goes down into, well, it sits outside, so it's like what was the temperature this morning? 25 degrees this morning. Cool. So, there was ice on the top of it. And so that water's got to be in the 30s.
Yeah.
And there's an element of like your brain going, get out, you're going to die. Like legitimately.
Yeah.
Your brain's like, get out, you're going to die.
Like almost panic mode.
Yeah. And so you have to it's mind over matter. You force yourself to be like, you're fine. be quiet, and breathe. And so there's a mental like just overcoming that's kind of baked into the process as well. That's over the long term supposed to be super beneficial. Obviously, I haven't done it at GOB, but yeah. So
your mind will always quit before your body does. That's true. And by all means, I've had my moments where I'm like, dude, I'm done. I've had it, whatever it is. But your mind will always quit way before your body. Your body can handle a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than you think it can. Now, you mentioned just chronic back pain. I've known this about you for a long time. I've known it about Holly too, so I'm sure you guys share, in that kind of empathetically. Now, chronic versus habitual, right? If we look at those two things, habitual is what you do to yourself and what you do on a daily basis. Chronic is what happens to you. So what habits have you created around your chronic issue, right? Because you have to, if you want it to maintain itself. Otherwise, if you don't have good habits around chronic pain, it just gets worse and you are in misery. And so what have you done there? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that deal with some chronic issues as well.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's so different with the issues that they have. And even if it's, even back pain, it's like whether it's bulging discs, ruptured discs, disc degeneration, there's so many different things, sciatica, SI joint issues.
Right.
So it's not the same for anybody. But for me, I just have to keep my core strong, multiple times a week of working on planks and core work, stretching as often as I can remember, which tries to be daily. It's not quite, but I try and do it daily before I hit the bed. And then working in the cold plunge is the new ad for 2024. And
you've learned all these things through physical therapy along the way, because sport, because you were in extreme sports as a ski racer, and I'm sure with injuries there, you probably learned a lot along the way that you probably administer yourself. And it's it's interesting. I was talking to you about this the other day, but I thought, man, it would be really neat to have a program. There may be some out there that is physical therapy foundations around just getting up and building core strength. Like, for example, when I was in my 20s, early 30s, like I was all about, man, I want to get in shape so I look good. Now I'm like, I just want to exercise to prevent injury.
Yeah.
And I think I just think it could be as simple as starting with PT foundations and just doing very basic squat techniques, those certain things, the right form. Habitually over time, your body will start to strengthen itself. And most people don't realize too, we're too young to maybe even have these conversations, but the majority of people that go into retirement homes, it's because of loss of strength.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it takes habitual progress with physical exercise to get yourself to a healthy place. And so I need better habits there for sure. I'll be first to admit it. I want to have a daily routine, a daily ritual. Right now I do not.
So let's talk about just habits. Let's talk about, some of those things. You mentioned that you're wanting to create a better, kind of rhythm in your workout. What other kind of things, if you have you established for this year that you're like, look, I want to do some of these things?
So for me, the word was consistency, right? I talked about that last time. So for me, what I started with was my calendar again, right? We talked about, I think a few episodes ago, just starting with, hey, I want to plan my whole year out. What does it look like to look forward to something every single month? So right now as it stands, I have something every single month minus July. July, we just leave wide open because summer's busy and it fills itself up no matter what. And we like to get boat time in and that sort of thing. So habitually, I just want to start being more consistent with sticking to what's on my calendar, right? Before, in years past, it's kind of like a budget. You set it and you kind of forget it. You kind of go, I almost feel fulfilled that I have something on my calendar instead of executing what's actually on there. And so that, I think for me, that's really what I want to build into my routine and my ethos is, man, you put it on the calendar, you get it done, you execute, and you hang your hat up at the end of the day, right? Rest your head on your pillow, feel good about what you did for the day, not worry about anything else. The video you sent me 3 days ago, was super profound and actually really validated all of that, in that the outcome undermines focusing on the outcome of whatever you're pursuing undermines everything else, the whole effort itself. And I don't want it to.
Yeah.
Right. And the other individual that, asked the question, and we all do, are we spending our time wisely? Am I doing the right thing? And that's just the wrong question, because you're constantly growing. As long as you're constantly growing and learning, and like the other gentleman said, and doing everything you can to make what you're doing the best it can absolutely be. The outcome will work itself out regardless. In fact, probably be way bigger and better than you could ever imagine. But you have to just keep your eyes set on that. And that's what I want to do this year. I want to be habitually aligned with that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like an interesting cross section between focusing on making the best project that you can, like doing it the very best, and recognizing that the outcome isn't what the project becomes, it's what you become.
Right.
Right? What Alex Hormozy said, combined with Rick, I forget the guy's name, he looked like he was Santa Claus on crack. He had a big white beard. I forget the guy's name, though.
But
Rick
if he made it on the show, I mean, he's somebody, right?
Yeah, right.
So that it was interesting to hear.
Yeah, because he was on Huberman Labs talking about the creative process.
Yeah.
But yeah, recognizing that it's about what we become in the pursuit of the project and making sure that the project is the best that we can.
Right.
And not focusing on the outcome. It's not an easy ask.
No.
It's an effort ask.
Yeah. And it is aligned with what I had mentioned a few episodes ago as well, in that your higher intelligence does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being.
Yeah.
And that, I think that is habit. People say you are what you eat, but that's in and of itself habits too, right? So you are what your habits are.
Yeah.
You are stitched together by your habits.
Yeah. I mean, routine is the master of habits.
Right.
Right. So it's whatever you do consistently on a regular basis, day in, day out, create your habits.
Right.
And so often people are trying to stop their habits, right? Maybe they have some negative habits, right? Well, I want to drink less. I want to smoke less. I want to, eat less fast food, whatever it is, right? And it's difficult to remove a habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough. The only way that you do that is to replace a habit, typically.
Sure.
That's your best path forward. And so if routine is the master of habits, you have to change your routine.
Sure.
So as you try to create a new habit, do you have any process that you kind of run it through on, like, okay, I want to install this new software. Here's how I'm going to do it. Do you have anything that you work through?
I have a philosophy that I want to work through. I'll say it that way, meaning I haven't put a lot of effort into changing my habits, because I think up to this point, unless I've had, some anxiety issues or whatever else to work through and go, man, I habitually need to change the way I'm just navigating life altogether, then I'll look at it that way. But for me, I want to start just back to the avocado idea, right? I just want to start adding good habits in. I think naturally over time, maybe I'm wrong, but this is just a philosophy idea, that over time, if you add enough good habits in, you will start to flush the bad ones out.
Sure.
Maybe I'm wrong. Time will tell, and I'll check back in and let you guys know how that's going. But I do, and it came from a friend that said, I just started with changing my health by eating one avocado a day. That's it. And then naturally he's in much better shape today. He looks better. He feels better, all those sorts of things. And that's just starting with one good habit at a time. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's worth a test. It's worth a test.
Yeah, I mean, no one. That's not fair. Most of us don't want to be like, I don't want to stop eating pizza. I love pizza, right? And it's not about necessarily stop doing. I like that a lot, actually. It's about replacing. It's about adding in. Like, if you eat an avocado a day, you're going to be less hungry. So instead of eating 3 pieces of pizza, you might eat 2. Right. So you're not sacrificing.
Right.
You're swapping it.
Right.
And so I love that. That's a great thing. I have to think of habits in terms of routines, because a routine, you pick any routine that you have. Okay. That could be brushing your teeth in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the way you make your coffee, right? There is a pattern to it.
Right.
There is a system, if you zoom out, to that execution of that habit of brushing your teeth.
Right.
So if I'm trying to create a new habit, I have to think of it as a system.
Right.
I can't just be like, yes, I am going to go to the gym more in 2024.
Right.
It's like, okay, good. It's a start.
Right.
But when? For how long? In what part of your day?
Right.
What are you swapping out? Like, there has to be a system to it for me to execute it. So like, I'm about a year and a half in of going to of adding into my life 3 workout sessions a week, 2 times in the gym, and then 1 time outdoors. Could be mountain biking, could be cross country skiing, etc. That doesn't even include me skiing on the weekends for
Right.
coaching. It's just the routine of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And when I set out to do it, I was like, okay, I need a couple of things. One is I have to block it off in my calendar. Like, I actually have to. It's in the calendar, blocked off. Like, I can't schedule anything else in there. If I do, I know I'm sacrificing that moment.
Right.
I needed accountability. So I had to reach out to one of our friends and say, hey, you want to go to the gym with me twice a week? Because I won't go if you're not there.
And by the way, other people out there may want the same accountability as you probably found
100%.
in your workout partner.
It was the same
I
thing.
need this too.
Yeah, Nate was like, yeah, I could use that.
Yeah.
So, it worked out great.
That's a great life lesson. If you need to change anything about your life, accountability is it, man. And find somebody that you really trust and feel like is going to breathe life into it.
Yeah. We'll provide grace, but we'll hold your feet to the fire.
Right.
And so, you just have to create a routine, create accountability.
Mhm.
It was going to be from 12:30 to 1:30. It was and it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it was non-negotiable.
Right.
And that's what we did. But that's, any type of habit that you want to create, you have to think about, when is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen? And what's going to be my trigger to remember?
Right.
Because if you don't account for all 3 things, the habit won't get created. And
I'd add one more thing in that it's imperative that you take all of those 3 things and you simplify it as best as you possibly can. There's a lot. I think people try to make a change in their life and they overcomplicate it. They make it way too big of a thing, right? So if you want to start, brushing your teeth longer or whatever else, or, brush your teeth 3 times a day or whatever, set your toothbrush out. Have your toothpaste ready next to your deal. Right?
That's the trigger.
Create the trigger that makes everything about creating that new habit easier. The other thing I want to say too, there's a lot of people, and I'm included in this statement, where we take a step back in this new change or this, this new venture of life, and we get really discouraged. We really beat ourselves up over, oh, here I go again. I ate another piece of candy. I was trying not to do that, and whatever else, and just prove myself I can't do it again, or whatever else, right? We go into that negative self-talk, but get right back on the train. Get right back on the don't look at that as a setback. Look at that as you just took one step off the path and you're getting right back on the path. Because yeah, it's conditioning, it's repetition. It's doing it over and over and over, retraining your subconscious. That habits, at the end of the day, if you really want to boil it down, it's your subconscious doing what it does.
Yeah. Yeah, not having to think about the efforting to I got to do this, right? Yeah, 100% grace in the process of creating habits, is it's foundational, really.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to be perfect.
No.
So if you're like, I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water, 200 ounces of water every single day.
Right.
And you got it in once this week, dude, fist pump.
Yeah.
Because how many times did you do it last week?
Right.
0.
Right.
And so you're moving the needle forward. And
Right.
if we can frame it in that lens, it's like, I'm going to tell on myself here. I worked out. I got to the gym once this week.
Right.
Okay. I just, my workout partner didn't. He had to take care of something. I had to take care of my car one day. I couldn't make it. My workout partner couldn't make it the other day. I made it one day.
Right.
But it's better than I did the week previous because it was holidays.
Totally.
And so I made it back into the gym.
Right. And you maintained yourself that week, by the way. Most people are like, oh, I took a step back. No, you actually kept your shape for that week. That was good.
Yep. And next week it'll be back. I'll be back to 2 days next week. And so instead of being hard on yourself, establishing a habit is hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. It takes real effort, and celebrate all the little wins too, right? Along the way, as you start to see some of those changes happen, as we talk about, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change, and that happens with habits too. And so, yeah, I mean, they are hard to start, but and there's also I've read this recently that there's all these weird timelines that we've heard along the way, like 21 days, right? Have you heard that with habits?
Yes, I have.
21 days to start and stop a habit. that's not necessarily true. It's more about repetition, like Tony Robbins talked about with getting his speaking career started. He just did it more in a shorter amount of time than anybody else.
Yeah.
So he had all of that life experience squashed down. So it's all about how much you do it and how often you do it over and over and over again to fine-tune yourself. But habits are who we are. Now, rituals, on the other hand, as we talk about routines, I've often joked, I do wonder with young children specifically, is it possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible to have yours is a gym ritual, but is it possible to have a regular ritual that you can absolutely stick to every single day? I'm sure there is, but I always joke that, man, I love them, but it's disruptive.
I think it depends on the season.
Sure.
Right? For some people, that's like, yeah, I'm up at 4:30 every day. I hit the gym for 47 minutes and then follow that up with a 3-minute cold plunge. So I'm in and out of the gym in 50 minutes. And it's like, okay, dude. Yeah.
You sent me that one reel where the guy said, if I did everything that all gurus tell me to do every morning, it was like basically like 17 hours straight of all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
27 push-ups, ice cold plunge, like just went down the list. It was like, no, dude.
11 minutes of sunshine on my face. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, in a perfect world, absolutely. We do not live in a perfect world.
No.
And when you have kids, it's even more imperfect.
Right.
It's just inconsistent.
Yeah,
It's just
it really
inconsistent.
It really is. What habits do you want to change, or what new habits do you want personally?
Yeah, so for whatever reason, reading for me has been an inconsistent part of my routine. I'll have periods of time, I'll go 2, 3 months, 4 months, and I'm like, yeah, knocking out a book every 2 to 3 weeks. And then what usually ends up happening is I pick a book that doesn't quite grab me, and I try and force myself to do it, and I get knocked off the habit. And I probably, from this moment looking backwards, like it's probably been 2, 3 months since I finished a book. And so I get knocked off because,
Right.
Because I chose the wrong book. And I need to establish a better routine around reading, whether that's, and I haven't given it a lot of thought yet on how to do it just yet, but whether that's, first thing when I get in the office, my last half hour before I leave the office, before I go into the office, before I go to bed, like I need to find the moment that makes the most sense consistently. That's the other piece of creating a habit. You can't just pick a routine time. It's got to be one that consistently, I'm going to pass by this particular end table where I keep my book most days at 10 a.m.
Right.
And it'll remind me.
Right.
Right. Whatever it is. So I got to find that routine. But there was 2 that I really am wanting to do. I'm wanting to do 30 minutes of some sort of education. I subscribed to Masterclass again this year.
It's great.
And so I want to do 30 minutes of education each work day. Probably about the time that I'm like burnt out at the end of the day.
Right.
And I'm ready to pull out my phone and watch Instagram reels. I'll switch to Masterclass. So that's my trigger, actually. If I'm on Instagram, it's like, now's when you pivot to Masterclass. So that's my trigger.
Well, we talked about a while ago that most people want to be entertained, not educated. So good on you for shifting the dial and going, no, I'm going to go to the entertainment route. I'm going to go back to the educational route. And good on Masterclass for making the education entertaining.
Yeah.
So it makes it kind of a little bit easier.
Yeah. So I've been going through the Lewis Hamilton one for winning mindset.
Oh, sweet.
So that's fun. So I'm adding that in, and coming back to what we talked about, grace, right? I got it in once this week because it's not ingrained yet.
Right.
But I got it in once, and I didn't get it in the last few months.
Right.
So, hey, it's a win. I got it in.
Right.
Next week I'll be better. I'll
Right.
get it in twice, right, or maybe more. And then I want to hit a book 30 minutes a day. So those 2 routines is what I'm going to put forward.
Reading
effort.
versus audible, or doesn't matter? Just listening and or reading doesn't matter.
So here's my hack. I actually do both.
Oh.
So I buy so I spend double. I buy the Audible and I buy the physical book. Okay, so I have both. I put the Audible on 2x.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. So you just speed read.
And then I just follow along. So I can hammer out books. It's a serious hack, dude. I can hammer out books really quickly.
Comprehend all of it.
And because I'm hearing it and my eyes are scanning it, my comprehension is so much better. So I'm faster. My comprehension is better.
That's a huge life hack. Nice. I didn't know about that. I don't know if you guys do about that.
Yeah.
But I will definitely give that a shot. Habitually with books, I think we talked about it before, and I just want to encourage everybody that if you do want to start a new habit, just work through some of the discouragement. Don't just stop because maybe you hit a wall. Meaning, remember I talked about, I just don't feel like I'm a big reader, and it just turned out that there were just a lot of books that weren't that worth reading.
Yeah.
And
find something you want to read.
Yeah, and you're like, buddy, that's normal, man. Like, if you don't like it within a chapter, put it down and move on. And I'm thinking, that's normal? And
Permission.
Yeah, total permission. And so just want to encourage all of you, if you haven't found a genre or a book or an author or style that you love and you're attached to, keep going. Keep going, because I have found those, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Another thing that helps me, too, is to mix in something that's just pure enjoyment reading.
Right.
So, I'm guilty of being like personal growth book. And if you do that too much, for me, I'll burn out a little bit, even if it's topics I'm interested in. It's like, how many leadership books can you read?
Right.
But I have to work in like espionage fiction, and like I have to work in other things that just purely entertain me, but keep the routine of reading every day going.
Right.
That's the key there, is like I'm still going through the pattern, the routine of reading every day. I'm just pivoting for a period of time that's like, for this next 2 weeks is going to be fun reading.
Right.
And so that's been something. But yeah, Audible combined with a book. And I go physical book. I used to do the Kindle.
I just thought about this yesterday. I don't see people reading on Kindles or electronic devices much anymore. Maybe I just don't notice, or I'm not paying attention. I see way more people holding physical books again. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I've noticed. The reason why I chose it, though, is because I want my kids to see me read. I want them to be curious about what I'm reading, to pick up the book I'm reading.
Right.
And if that's not laying around on the coffee table, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Magic of Thinking Big, Never Split the Difference, right? Principles by Ray Dalio, whatever it is, if it's not sitting around, they don't know that you're actually reading. If it's on a Kindle, okay, the Kindle's around, but there's 47 books on there.
Right.
And they're not going to pick it up and be like, I wonder what Dad's reading. So I want them to feel like they can pick it up as they get older. I want to show them what I'm reading, and that I am reading. So that's why I went back to physical.
And back to really getting after topics that you're really interested in. That seems like a duh. Why would you pick up a book otherwise? But like I even mean topically, like wilderness and survival skills. That's something I'm really generally into right now. I love it. Every little bushcraft thing I can learn and take away, I'm applying it to my life. And again, same thing. I want my kids to see that, because I want to instill that in their life, that they need those skill sets.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. What do you think about, or what are your thoughts on, like overarching 30,000 foot view societal habits, things that we just subconsciously do as a society, the rat race, 9 to 5, the hum and drum of life. It makes me wonder how many of our habits subconsciously are just aligned with our cultural habits and what we do as a society. Haven't thought too much about it, but it dawned on me like, I wonder how much we're kind of in the wheel more than we think.
So a bit of a pivot. It's in alignment to what you said there, though. I started watching. You know who Rob Bell is, right?
Oh yeah, the pastor, and then he
former
went
pastor
into a more universalism type of a
influencer type of direction, and so he did a lecture. He called it a tour. He did a speaking tour about 3 years ago called Introduction to Joy. And I started watching it last night. Holly and I did. Wholly captivating, first of all. So good. But essentially what he is going through is the understanding that, and I'll tie it back to what you asked, that happiness is different than joy. And that joy has room for all of the human experience. Happiness is the opposite of sad. You're the happier you're sad. But joy can handle depression and despair and frustration and grief and anxiety. It can handle all those things. And in fact, joy will point to the human experience and go, yeah, because of all those things, you need to enjoy this moment. You see this is why you see somebody that has been through immense grief, deep, deep loss and pain. There is a unpredictability that's weaved into the fabric of our existence.
Right.
And when you have come face to face with that unpredictability, like my brother-in-law getting murdered.
Right.
You are faced with, man, there are so many less. That's the wrong way to create that sentence, but there's so many less guarantees in this life than we actually think. All we have, you and I, honestly, all we have is this moment. We don't know that we're actually going to make it back to the truck and back to our families.
Right.
Like, it's dark, but it's true.
Right.
And joy has the ability to go, yeah, all of that's real. In fact, it could probably be worse. So this moment, this one right here, enjoy it.
Alan Watts said it's odd that 95% of our time we spend in places that don't exist.
Right.
The past and the future. They don't exist. All we have, the 5% of what we're experiencing is right here and right now. It's hard. It almost feels new agey to accept that. There's a lot of people that talk about the power of now and that sort of thing. But they're not wrong.
No.
Right. So it doesn't matter if it even has a cadence of new age philosophy. It doesn't matter. They're not wrong.
Yeah.
They're absolutely accurate.
And to tie it back with what you're asking, about societal habits, I think most people, and I think that's probably fair, most live their life unconsciously. I mean, how many times have you been driving to work or anywhere, driving home, and you're like, how'd I get here? We've all had that experience where it's like, wow, I don't remember the last 5 minutes of this drive, but I'm here safe. So clearly I was present, but I wasn't fully present. We live unconsciously. The coffee shop that we stop at the morning, the drive to work that we take, the place that we go for lunch, the drive back home, the show that we watch in the evening. There's so much of our existence that's baked into just the unconsciousness of it. If we don't zoom out and recognize that this moment could be gone any second, we miss the majority of our life.
Yeah, really.
Unconsciously. Mm-hmm. And so I think society's wrapped up in just the unconscious routine of the day-to-day and missing it.
Right. I think that we live I agree with you. We live a more unconscious life than we even realize. Getting up every day and moving in directions, and whether they're routines or anything else, we just, there's not a lot of conscious thought behind it. It's a little bit scary in a way.
Yeah.
Now that you say that kind of hit me. I don't think I really think about it consciously very often, that you'll tune out, you'll be driving, especially in a dangerous situation, and realize I totally daydreamed or something and tuned out. Or there's a scientist out there that actually is starting to reshape and believes that consciousness is the only constant in the universe, right? That science tells us it's light, or whatever other elements are out there, but it's an interesting thought, because I think it's aligned with what we're talking about today.
Yeah. That
there's just a habitual consciousness in a way that we're all connected to.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a deeper conversation, but
so before we pivot all the way off, I want to go and I want to talk about negative habits.
Sure.
Because admittedly, you've been down the road of having negative habits and have gotten to the point where you had to go to recovery. And so if somebody's, one of the things that they're like, look, I have to cut back on my X consumption, fill in the blank. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Where do you start?
I think habits are for me are driven by safety and control, right? That I want, or maybe security's in there too. But I do things because I always want whatever I do or whatever I'm going through to feel safer and more controlled by me. And so I share that because I remember talking to a pastor when I first was getting clean and sober, And I had made the comment to him that my life spun out of control, and he stopped me in my tracks. He said, "No, it didn't. You are obsessed with control." So the moment you realized you didn't like the way you felt, you decided, I'm going to change the way I feel. Right. And so I whether or not it's self-medication or whatever that habit becomes, it's driven by your control, and obsession with control. And honestly, I'm going to kind of go on a philosophical rant here, but I actually think, and I do this to my kids too, so I'm not saying I'm free of it, but even since we were young kids, there's always a remedy to the problem, right? You don't feel good, here's some Tylenol, right? You have a little ache in your knee, here's some Robitussin, or whatever else it is. It's like there's just always a fix to your problem. If you don't like how you feel different. And so, I'm not using that as a crutch for why I chose to use drugs and alcohol, but I think there's some conditioning. There's some societal, unconscious, habitual conditioning that we, again, like I mentioned before, culturally, we don't even know we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just a part of it. And it seems normal. So why would we question what's normal? To actually habitually change anything about who you are and what you do against cultural norms is actually way more challenging than people think. You will be ostracized. You'll be an outcast. And I'm not saying that's a reason for you not to do it if you feel like it's the right thing to do and it's driving you forward. But be aware of that resistance because it's real. That's why we all stay in that cultural lane, because it's more comfortable and it's safer and you have more control in it. So
I heard a great quote. It had to do with business, but it applies to habits. It's that building a business is hard. Hard feels shitty. This is what hard feels like.
Yeah.
This is why other people quit, but you won't.
Yep.
Generating a habit's the same. It's recognizing that it's probably not going to be comfortable. It's probably not going to be fun. You got to have a big why.
Right.
We've talked about that in previous episodes, that why is one of the biggest questions that you can ask when you're creating a new habit. Why?
Right.
If it's not deeply rooted in something that matters, it's going to be tough. Stupid example, but a really relevant one. I had a dentist tell me, I don't know, let's call it a decade ago, that flossing my teeth was more important than brushing them. He's like, if you have to choose in the evening to floss or brush, you better floss. From that day forward, I mean, like that, in the last decade, I bet you I've missed less than 30 days.
Wow.
Like, it was one of those things that was like, really? It's that important? Well, I better do it. I had no idea. I brushed my teeth because I knew that's important, but you're telling me this is more important than brushing my teeth? Okay. I'll floss.
You just made an incredible distinction that just totally turned on a light. That habits, and where was I going with that? Oh man, I lost it. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going down the line.
So your why though is what I was going with there.
Right.
The why of like, no, this is more important. It has to be something that is pulling you towards creating that.
Right.
Right. If you're going to drink 200 ounces of water today, which we're supposed to drink an ounce per weight,
right,
per body pound, that is a lot of water.
Right.
But you're going to have a big why. You're going to have to understand why you're doing that to commit to that type of thing. Other than, at least for me, other than just like, yeah, I'm going to be more hydrated and feel better and healthy. Like, there's going to have to be. That's why people that have like huge like medical diagnoses change their habits like that, because they recognize, ooh, if I don't do this, I die.
Yeah.
It's not a problem changing your patterns when your why is big enough. So if you can attach your why to the habit and then create the routine around it.
Right.
Made in the shade.
And I'll take it, what I was going to say was I'll take it one step further too and say that your why is connected to a belief, so that your habits are going to follow whatever that belief change is. And belief is the strongest thing in the world. It is. It's the most powerful thing in the world. You cannot break someone's belief. Once someone has a concrete belief in anything, whether it be a faith or a fact, good luck changing it. It's just the way it is. So when that belief sinks in and it's anchored, habits will naturally start to form themselves. So I just had that moment of clarity of distinction of like, oh my gosh, start with belief.
Right.
If you want to change your habits, start by believing something new, and you have to firmly believe it in your gut. You can't just go, oh, that sounds cool. You got to see.
You got to know that 200 ounces is going to change your life.
You got to feel it.
Yeah, that's a great point. The
Yeah.
belief is, I didn't have the belief. The dentist gave me the belief. It was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is your business, so you probably know.
Yeah.
And it changed my belief system.
It's like Robert Kiyosaki. He said, the most valuable thing you have in your life are the thoughts inside your mind. Be very careful who puts them there.
Yeah.
Right. But there are incredible, influences like your doctor or anybody else you look up to and revere. You should absolutely take that in, use that, and drive yourself forward with it. That's pretty cool. That's a real life example of how belief can rewrite how your habits are day to day.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Anything else pop into your mind here?
For me, like we talked about before, I'm a pretty cavalier, free-flowing kind of guy. So habits very much are aligned with more of an analytical approach to and ritualized approach to your day. So it's new for me, right? And I really, when I think about habits, they don't make me feel like, I think for some people when they think about habits, it makes them feel negative. Like, oh man, I got so many bad habits. Like you were saying, I got to cut back on drinking or doing this and that. But when I think about habits, it actually turns me up a little bit. It tunes me up and makes me go, hey, if I can just change this little thing, and change is not always a bad thing. I know some people are opposed to change, but change, as you look back through your life, made you who you are today.
Yeah.
You're stitched together from all those changes. And so I'd say for myself and anybody else, just keep a positive outlook around habits. That change is good, and you can grow and strengthen yourself by just making some little tune-ups in your life. It doesn't have to be major. It doesn't have to be extreme. Just make some small changes. And like we talked about before, I think the best way to approach is just add new positive habits to your life. I think that's the best way to approach it.
I think my final thought is all of what you just said, and there's an asterisk to that, and that is choose one at a time.
Don't overwhelm yourself.
Don't try and add 10 new habits this new year.
Right.
Like if you want 10 new habits, that's great. Start with one.
Right.
And get the routine around doing it. If you try and inundate your environment with so many new patterns, new routines, it's going to be really tough to retain and create consistency. Speaking of consistency. So pick one.
Right.
And add it this month and get it, dial it.
Right.
And then grab another. Once you feel like this is a little bit more habitual, add something else in February.
Right.
Or maybe it takes you a whole quarter. If all you did, if you've got a goal of creating 10 new habits this year, and all you did was add one new habit per quarter, and you ended up with 4, come on, that's a win.
Huge progress.
That's a huge win. So
huge progress.
Be graceful with yourself, gracious with yourself. Choose one at a time.
Right.
And routine is the master of habit.
Building confidence should never be overlooked. Whether or not you're just changing that one habit and finding one lane to improve yourself in, all that confidence that you improve is going to spill over into every other category of your life.
Yeah.
Don't undervalue that.
And willpower, I'm going to keep going here. Willpower is a factor in this.
Right.
Willpower is a muscle you can build. Okay? The ability to stay on task, to choose the difficult over the easy, because there will be moments where you have to choose to do that. You're going to be sitting there. You're going to be faced with it. You've got the trigger. You have the moment. You have the time. You know you're supposed to do it. You just don't want to.
Right.
And that's where willpower comes in. And you can train your willpower like you train any other muscle.
Right.
So, as I was trying to build my willpower, something that was silly that I forced myself to do was use conditioner in the shower.
But but those are those little changes that actually start to ripple effect.
Right? But it's like, no, I could work it into my shower routine. I could put it on my hair before I wash my body. Like, it didn't take any additional time. And it was finding ways to build the willpower of no, I'm going to do this. It's not inconvenient, and I'm going to just do it.
Right.
Building that willpower is a part of this equation.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Cool. Man, that was a pretty good wrap on it.
Dude,
pretty good
Happy
bow.
New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you guys.
Welcome to our new
Absolutely.
studio. Thank you for joining us, Harold.
Appreciate you, man. That was my best effort.
Yeah, I won't try and do it. So until next time.
Until next
Appreciate
time. Boom. We're out. Later, man.
Thank you for tuning in to Processing Purpose. We hope you grabbed a few gold nuggets to take one step forward in your journey of life and business. Please remember to like and subscribe our channel if you'd like to get more content to help you build and grow everything around you. Make today your best day. Today is day one.